always better than not.
Yeah, no doubt. Yep.
So, Gary, tell me a little bit about your career path. You know, how you
Sure.
got into insurance and what you've been doing at at American Modern throughout the years.
So, well, ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to get an insurance. I was watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, and I told my dad, that's what I want to do. No, so realistically, my current company here, American Modern, is my first foray into insurance. I've always been what I consider to be a market research guy. Have worked in, well, technically insurance. I worked in health insurance. I worked in banking, and the opportunity became available in insurance. Hadn't really thought of insurance as, a career, but heard a lot of positive things about the company, interviewed, and come, 17 years later, still here, a great company. And they've never given me a reason to leave. I always feel like I'm challenged and growing. So I am now, I guess, was an insurance guy, or I was a research guy in insurance. And now I think I'm finally getting to that point where I'm an insurance guy. I got my PCU several years ago, and now I feel, took a while, but now I feel very much like an insurance guy. So
awesome. Well, you got that badge of honor, the CPCU. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So
congratulations.
As far as with my role here, it's always been, as I mentioned, marketing research. So I've always been on the primary side. I know there's a lot of marketing research people at the SIR, and I know a lot of people, are competitive intelligence and, secondary research, but I've always been really kind of just the primary research guy here at American Modern. And that might be, research with agents, research with policyholders. We started out, when I first started out numerous years ago, is really a focus on the agents, because we are primarily independent agent channel company. And over the years, we've evolved. We still do considerable amount of research with our agents, but we're really looking at also the policyholder and understanding, how they want to work with us, and, just whether it's NPS or just overall brand equity kind of stuff. That is certainly important to us. But a couple of years ago, I shifted. I still doing a lot of the same research I did, but I'm now in customer experience. So we kind of integrated the primary research role into customer experience, which was several years ago kind of a new business unit for American Modern. And it is still as I mentioned, a lot of the same research, but I think we're much more, doing customer-centric research to better understand, a wider range of stuff about the agent and the policyholder.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So, and I think, we were talking separately about one of the prior presidents, before you, was Jenny Hodge, right? She was also past president at American Modern.
Yeah. So I was going to mention the fact that I know, based on the previous past president interviews I've seen, which I really enjoy because get to see some old faces on there. But I know eventually we'll start talking a little bit about the SIR, and that was when I joined American Modern, new to the insurance industry. Jenny was, I reported to Jenny, and it's funny because my last name is Hodge as well, and my wife's name is for Hodge. So, but Jenny was, I don't know if she was president that year or she might have been past recent president, but she really introduced me to the SIR, and realistically, it's been a hugely valuable resource to me. I think, let's see, I've gone to 15, well, technically 17 annual conferences in a row.
Wow.
15 were in person. I know the last 2 years we've done virtual, but missed the annual conference yet. I think it's one of those things to look forward to and circle on the calendar.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I don't know if we keep records on consecutive conference attendance, but I had to look into that. That's a nice question. It's like, that's like when I first did my first past president interview, and Jack Turba told me there was an SIR song at one point. I was like, just blew my mind. And You just blew it again. I didn't even think anybody's attended 17 straight conferences.
Yeah,
But that's a great achievement.
I'm kind of the Cal Ripken of SR.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about then. So if Jenny introduced you to SIR around 2005-ish, tell us some of your favorite memories during that time.
Yeah, so being new to insurance, that was, a huge amount to learn. So, one of the things was, okay, how do we, build the skills, learn more about the industry? And Jenny immediately said, the SIR conference is coming up. That would be a great resource. So I think it was in Atlanta, was that first year, but was immediately, impressed with just the people there and the, level of insight. Very intimidating at first, not from the standpoint of the people or anything like that. It's just, drinking out of the fire hose a little bit about all the speakers and learning all this new stuff. But I think the one thing that really resonated was just the people. And I think Herb said it on his interview, the fact that, it's people just, it's not about what you can do for me. It's really a thought sharing and open, and everybody is helping everybody out and sharing insight and stuff like that. And realistically, Herb was a key part of, Herb is the, ambassador for the SIR back in the day. And so very warm and just engaging, and, immediately set the right tone when I joined. But, so many people were, what I found out was really neat was the, I'd been a lot of banking conferences, as mentioned right before starting in insurance. I was in banking, and it was very, I don't want to say cliquish, but it was just like, you had groups of people that knew each other, and you felt a little bit about an outsider. If there's times where I went to that and I was the only person from my company and just really didn't feel warm and embracing. And I think, I've heard several other people say this about the SIR. It's just a different environment. It's very much, when I was on the board, and I think you guys still do it quite a bit, is if there's a person that's new to the conference, they have a new orientation. There is, you don't, some people may be more of introverts and wallflowers and stuff like that. But I think we make a real effort, or the SIR makes a real effort to, go up and engage people that may not know other people. And I think that's what's great about it. And a lot of opportunity for networking, whether it's the cocktail hours or the getting together after dinner. I know we've, in the past couple conferences, you could, even if maybe sometimes the vendors will take out their clients, but then there was also signups for, if you didn't work with a vendor, you could go out as a group. And great just to see people away and certainly talk business, but also get to know people. So yeah.
Now I remember I think when we were in Charlotte, we kind of made some videos that were kind of preceding our 50-year anniversary. And I think you in your session, you talked about how, during the recession, SIR has some challenges there for a while financially, and, between your leadership and the board and, and Sharon that followed you, it's kind of like we kind of turned the corner and started building up some financial strength. So I don't know if you want to talk at all about any of those challenges.
Most definitely. So I came in, as you mentioned, 2012, 2013. I think the trend now is to have 2-year presidents. Mm-hmm. And I was the first 2-year consecutive year, because I know a few people. I think Jeff Nagel may have done 2 years, but not back, and even maybe Candace or Denise have done that. So mine was the first, and I think it makes a lot of sense because, you're getting in there, and by the time you start really understanding how things operate, it's time to pass the torch. And so I think 2 years makes a whole lot of sense. But when I came in, we were very much at a crossroads of, survival. And, we didn't have a whole lot in reserves. Realistically, we would have had to close shop because of the pandemic. We were one unsuccessful conference away from not having any money, just because, the money we made, whether it was, keynote speaker or whatever, but we didn't have a whole lot of reserves. And at that time, the annual conference was really the key thing. And that was, the beef, where's the beef of the SIR was going to the conference. And we didn't have, like you guys have now, just this broad, different value propositions that you have now, whether it's the webinar, the CI calls, the spring workshop. So we look into, okay, how do we expand our value proposition, but also how do we get that revenue in there? And so the way I did it in my first president's meeting was, we have that annual planning meeting every year. And I had Jeff Kuchera come in, and Jeff was, not within the board, but we really much did a comprehensive planning, SWOT analysis to understand what we needed to do, what were our options to increase revenue, how do we increase value proposition. But we made some hard decisions that year. One of the things was, we found out as we looked at like annual conferences, we would have, a third to 40% of the people didn't have to pay the conference fee. At that time, if you were speaking or you were on a panel or whatever, your conference fee was covered, which, I mean, is certainly nice, but at the end of the day, it's not real sustainable when you have that many people, because obviously that's a revenue opportunity. So we made a decision, unless there was like a keynote speaker that we really needed to attract, we felt we needed to have everybody paying the conference fee. Mm-hmm. And there's some exceptions here and there back through the years, but so that certainly helped. We looked at what other conferences, not other conferences, but other associations, how they were priced, and we realized we were probably more of a value and had been underpriced. So made a decision to raise the membership fees. And so we had hardly debate about that, and we were kind of, okay, well, what's going to be the impact? Is there potential to lose membership? At the end of the day, I think it really helped bring us back to sufficiency, and now a whole different story. And I think it's great to see how things have progressed with the SIR, and it gives me a little sense of pride. It was, like I said, it was tough times, but yeah, I remember that it was a tough discussion, and we had, like I said, some professional contention and debate, but in the end, I think we were all in it for the right reasons. And that's the thing too, is, I have anybody on the board or on a conference committee, whatever, everybody's got a full-time job, very busy people, but people are doing this because, they genuinely are vested in it and feel good about it. It's, nobody's getting paid on this. It's a labor of love. So mm-hmm. It's great.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. But I mean, as far as just questions around SR, I think, kind of look at a couple things about what I like best about SR is, first of all, content. And I'm thinking specifically to the annual conferences, mm-hmm. just some of the speakers that have stand out. I think Candace mentioned Charlie King Dollar back in the day, used to talk about emerging risk. Sullivan's are always great. Brian and Patrick, we've done a lot of work with Zeldis, always has a good presentations that we've worked with Zeldis in the past, and they have some good content. Since I'm primary research, anything related to agent research, whether it is, there used to be a channel harvest, or JD Powers used to do some stuff, but I think that stuff's really good. We've had Jeff Reeder from Ward Group, but those are the things that kind of stand out to me from presentations that I brought back and shared, and it was really beneficial and provided some great insight from a primary research side. Mm-hmm. I think about great events. We've had so many, I don't know if you want to call them team building, but social activities at the conferences. We did a ghost tour down in Savannah. I think we also did it in New Orleans. Ron Zeza put we had a Pittsburgh a few years back, and he had a great scavenger hunt in Pittsburgh. He really organized it, and it was great. And those are the things, so like I said, where you kind of get to see people out of their element and get to know people. And so that was great. And then I think about the cities I probably never would have got to if I hadn't gone to the SIR conference. I a couple of years ago went to Milwaukee. I'd never been to Milwaukee before. Went to Phoenix for the first time because of the SIR. Went to Long Beach. San Antonio, your neck of the wood. Been to San Antonio a couple times because of the SR, a great city. Riverwalk is so neat. And like I said, that gave me the opportunity to see some of those areas and get to see people again. And it's kind of like a reunion every time we get back to the conference. So looking forward to knock on wood next year, getting everybody back together and getting the band back together.
That's right. Yeah, me too. I can't wait. No, that's great. That's some great stroll down memory lane. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. So unlike some of the other past presidents that I've talked to, you're still in the business, right? Some of them, Herb is retired, others have retired, but tell me about some of the trends and things like that you're either excited about or following that are going on in the industry. I know we just had a great conference, but maybe there's some other things top of mind.
Yeah. So I mentioned, primary research. And so I look at things kind of from the lens of research and the agent and policyholder. Since I'm in CX, it's the kind of customer centric. And I think that is really one of the key trends is, the industry is certainly moving towards digital enablement and people being able to do things on their own, agents being able to self-serve and not necessarily have to call a call center. But I think you still need to focus on that, how do you bring that personal touch? And I think Herb discussed it in his presentation is, we have to get away from kind of the messaging that insurance is a commodity. I mean, there is differentiation in insurance, different companies. And I think part of that, and I think there's certainly a niche for InsurTech and stuff like that, but I think that gets a little more where it's transactional and more of a commodity and, it's all around speed and lowest price. But I think it's really about also establishing that personal connection. And so I think CX is going to continue to be a big part of focus for insurance. And how do we, with the migration to more of an automated digital world, still, bringing in that human element and being able to differentiate ourselves from a customer-centric standpoint. And, from USAA is, top of the list when it comes to customer centricity. So it's, best practices and learning from others and how do we do that. But that is, as I mentioned, a big part of it is the understanding how agents want to do business with us. What do they want to do on their own? Self-serve. And then what do they want to have support and be able to call somebody, underwriting or something like that. And the same thing from a policyholder standpoint. There's kind of it's an interesting dynamic because you have agents want to do some stuff, something like their agents generally are probably a little leery of the, direct to consumer and, potentially competing with the insurer for that business if they can go direct with the insurer. So they want to be involved in that relationship. So it's understanding what the policyholder wants to be able to do on their own, self-serve through the insurer, but not alienating the agents, creating a ecosystem where they can, have that option and meeting people where they're at. You can't just force digital on people that don't want to do digital.
Yeah.
Lesson I learned a long time ago in the banking world, we, when we make decisions based on economics, when I was at the bank, we decided, okay, it costs us so much money for somebody to come into the branch and use a teller. So somebody came up with the bright idea, all right, well, we're going to have an account where they have to pay to see the teller, but they can do everything automated, whether it's the ATM or online banking. And we alienated a lot of customers because when people came in and wanted to talk to a teller and realized they had to pay for it, it was, not a good experience. So at the end of the day, what seemed like a dollars and cents thing and economically made sense, if you don't take the customer centric look at it, it ultimately was not a good experience. And we learned quickly and had to pivot on that.
Yeah.
Other things I would say is just the whole, whether it's Internet of Things, obviously a big trend there about being able to, and we did a lot of research on this. So we presented at a couple conferences around, the SIR had a research committee around digital, Internet of Things, telematics, all that kind of stuff, understanding the appetite for that, what concerns there were. There's certainly data privacy concerns. And then what is what makes people consider that? Is it around, one of the questions we had was, is it about saving on your policy? Would you be able to do, whether it's connected home, hooked up to insurance, or is it around claims mitigation and the potential to have risk aversion and the fact that, okay, well, if you have this water sensor, you're going to protect your basement from getting flooded and you lose those valuable things, your photo albums and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the messaging is around, lifestyle improvement and claims mitigation, or is it a dollars and cents thing where people, and I know that's a lot of what telematics is save on your insurance by having us, monitor your driving. So understanding what levers to push to get that, get those things to resonate with consumers. So I think that's all part of it is, innovation, and rambling on a little bit here, but now we're talking about the whole claims, self-serve, and the pandemic taught us that you don't always have to have an adjuster out there to visit. You can do geo mapping, you can do digital photos, you can do right now DIY underwriting, where you go into your house and you do video images of your house, so you don't have to have an inspector come out or for underwriting purposes. So understanding how that technology can be leveraged, but more importantly, understanding how it's going to be received by consumers are you going to lose some potential loyalty if you're doing, everything digital from a claims standpoint? Are you losing that personal touch? So what impact is that going to have on long-term potential with that customer or loyalty, where you previously, were able to demonstrate that empathy, and now it may be a more, business relationship and more just automated.
Right. And people say insurance is boring. There's so much going on, right? So much going on. Yeah, it's an exciting time. I mean, the whole prevention versus, protection kind of argument's been going on, and it'd be interesting to see where it lands. But to your point, meeting the customer where they're at and being able to articulate your differentiated value proposition is what it comes down to a lot of times at the end of the day.
And like I said, it's sometimes about messaging, and if you as an insurer are coming out with this capability for policyholders to do insurance directly with you, or not even necessarily insurance, but anything, any insurance, not necessarily binding a policy, but anything, you need to be able to communicate to the agent, okay, well, the good thing about this is that helps you focus on your value proposition, and we're taking off, whether it's changing your bill pay plan, or going in and checking when your policy payments due, or making a routine change with your policy. We're taking that off your plate as an agent. That helps you focus on the real things about prospecting for new business and doing cross sell, all that kind of stuff. So you didn't present it to the agents of, this isn't more beneficial to us because it's going to be more economically feasible to do self-serve. You really need to translate that back to the agents.
Yep, that's good. Okay, so last question. What recommendations do you have for us? Either the SIR or SIR members or whatever. What do you want to leave us with today from words of wisdom from Gary Hodge?
I think you guys are certainly on the right path. It's, when I think about everything you guys do now and the website and everything like that, it's so much more robust and much more of an offering. And as I said, back in the day, it was kind of like, back in 2010, 11, if you missed the annual conference, you kind of didn't get your money's worth with the SIR, where that's not the case at all now. I think it's very much more of a community. I think one of the opportunities that I would like to see built out a little more, and I realize it depends on full engagement of other members, but I think the listserv, I think kind of members helping members, where people put, hey, I'm facing this business question or business issue. Has anybody dealt with this? And then, they hook up two people, and obviously you wouldn't be competitive intelligence or anything like that. When I was in banking, that was one of the key things. So you had, I forget what the group was called, but you okay, what's banks doing with check safekeeping? So then they would hook you up with a bank across the country that didn't compete or was maybe commercial versus personal banking. And you would talk to them about best practices. How did they integrate this into the organization? So I think there's potential for that. And I realize I see some stuff come through on the listserv, but I think, that would be nice to expand on that a little bit. I think you guys are moving in the right direction with the, trying to bring in the younger age. I think, who was it? I think maybe it was Jeff Nagel talking a little bit about, unfortunately, a little bit of a brain drain when it comes to insurance. So you're getting a lot of seasoned people that are reaching retirement age, and it's about creating, and I think it's all about appealing to those people in the data sciences and predictive analytics. That's obviously a hugely growing field, but, being able to help those people that are now graduating with those type of degrees to see how that can be leveraged in insurance. And, it's all about analytics now. And that was one thing I failed to comment. I know we're running out of time here, but one of the other key trends is, I used to be the survey guy. I was kind of nicknamed the survey monkey within American Modern because they would originate from me. But, I hate to admit it, but we're getting away from surveys. It's just, you get surveys for everything now. And people, I think we've reached that point where, people don't want to take surveys anymore. So it's about how do you still get that insight? And some of that's through predictive analytics and understanding, okay, you don't need to ask somebody how satisfied they were with that transaction. Let's see what they did as a result of that. Did you increase your share of wallet? Did they leave? So understanding, not looking more at the data and not asking people, but looking at what they did. And I think, also calls into the call center and doing, sentiment analytics on whether they're, how they're happy or sad or whatever, or data mining, anything where you can collect data and be able to cluster and find out specifically, what are you doing well and where do you need to improve? So I think surveys will still always be around. I just think we gotta shift. And one of the things really, I think the role of a primary research person as myself is around user experience. I think it was Brian Sullivan who held up the little cards that had key themes on them. And one of his that I was happy to see is user experience is everything. And we move to a digital enablement and digital technology, you got to be testing everything that you're putting out there, not having surprises and finding out you wasted all this money to develop something that doesn't meet the needs of the policyholder or the agent. So that all means user testing on the front end. And we're doing a lot more of that. I'm doing a lot more of that. It's really an upskilling. Realistically, a year ago, I hadn't done a whole lot of that. I reached out to, Denise Ross, who's a colleague and friend of mine through the SIR for years. She gave me some great guidance. She's done a lot of that, but I think that is the new frontier for primary research is, building the skills around user experience testing. So long-winded answer there, but I think that kind of sums things up. So
yeah, no, that's great. That's a great place to leave it. I mean, I think that our research committee and other forums that might be a good topic for them to explore as new research techniques, beyond the survey and how do we explore some of those ways of getting feedback from the user. The student and, bringing in, more youth and exploring ways to get more value out of the listserv or, some other way of collaboration in a antitrust compliant way,
Right, exactly.
I think is also a good idea. So appreciate that. And, now that we're coming up on the end of the year, we're starting and we've, got a new board that'll be starting on the job next month. We'll start thinking about, what initiatives we'll be pursuing in, next year in that, our strategy planning meeting in January. So it's a good time to get that feedback. So
yeah,
appreciate it.
No doubt. Yeah. Just keep up the good work. You guys are, like I said, moving ahead and, I think it's as I've seen membership numbers are growing. So I think just keep on keeping on.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time today, Gary Hodge.
Yeah.
Good catching up with you.
Quick. I want to get in my joke here real quick. So I was a little hesitant about talking to Michael Myers this close to Halloween.
Yeah, that's all I need now. Gary, is another audience being exposed to the Michael Myers jokes. It's kind of like I was like every year I'm like, oh my God, can he just die? Why do they keep bringing him back?
There you go. I have to give shout out to one of my colleagues with that joke, but I thought it was a good one. So
appreciate it. Well, we won't hold it against you, and I can't reach through and grab you through the virtual screen, so you're safe.
Yeah.
So, all right, Gary, take care. Be safe now.
Yeah. Good talking to you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.